Hey guys, welcome back to our quick tip series. Today we're going to be looking at making a bass line from the ground up using just sine waves and distortion. Here's a little demo of the results. So as always, let's start with the MIDI. The key here is variation, so different pitches and different lengths. I'm going to be using this free software called Span with these settings on for the rest of the explanation. This stage in the sound is absolutely crucial, so I'd take a minute getting this bit right. This bass technique really requires us to control the bottom three harmonics of our sound. Here you can see in an analyzer how they stack on top of each other. For ultimate control, I bounce out a sine wave from any synth and then insert it into a sampler. Once I have my sub set up, I create two duplicates, one at +12 or an octave, and one at an octave and a fifth or 19 semitones. At the end of this process, you want to have something that looks a little bit like this. The next stage is to create some dynamics. I move the second harmonic up as the third goes down. I use an LFO for this, but you can use automation just as well. I grab an instance of Serum triggered by the same MIDI and add a high cut saw wave with a little bit of detune on it. In general, the key to these kind of basses is variation and randomness, so I try and instill as much of that across the entire sound as I can. Here I'm just moving the volume of this new saw layer. I consider all these layers to be a single sound, and then I route them through a series of buses 1 through 4. The signal chain goes from the MIDI out into 1 and then into 2 and so on and so on. We're going to leave some empty space on 1 and jump right to 2 and start adding some plugins. I'm going to choose this crunchy setting called Acid on Trash and just automate the mix in and out. With the same opposing automation move that we used earlier, I'm going to increase the drive of one side of the waveform while decreasing the other and vice versa. This plugin Rift is really good for this kind of distortion. Up next is stage 3, I'm going to process the sound some more. Up first is phases, it's going to introduce some notches that are automated up and down without having to do any work, it's perfect. Moving on to Melder Productions M Vocoder, this introduces a nice rubbery and kind of synthetic texture on top of the sounds, as well as giving it a nice punch in the bottom end. It's kind of like disperser or all-pass filters. I like using Uber Loud to make the tops more consistent and to add a lot of transient and punch. This plugin's really good for aggressive sounds in general. Just before the final layer of processing, I like to add in some feedback stuff via Serum and insert it between stage 3 and 4. As you can see, I'm automating Serum to come in and out to create more variation. This patch shares the same MIDI as the previous layers but has a much higher pitch. Moving on to stage 4 and the final touches of our initial sound. First up is OTT, both great for attack and for consistency. I then added some more Trash 2 variation on the setting Crunchy Grunge. And now letting Ubik G do its really cool cone filtery kind of movement. I suggest copying these settings and automating the transposer on for some really cool results. Up next is Homicide. This is a setting I use on pretty much every bass. For those who have this plugin, it's under XXX and it's called Smart E. We're now heading back to stage 1. At this point and throughout, I would suggest saving different iterations of the bass. It's really easy to mess this up. The first plugin in this chain is the Kilohertz Convolver. The end result of this sound will be a recording, so I'm just kind of getting a feel for what I can do with the plugin. The beauty of this kind of processing is that all the changes that we make at this early stage are compounded by all the plugins after, so it can be really powerful. The Convolver can create some strange stereo stuff, so I like to recenter it with this plugin, as well as do some width automation. Now for something a little bit more drastic. With this plugin I can really easily fold and mangle the sound. I like to create a load of random boosts and cuts and then using the nodes tell them where they would like to go, and then with one automation rapidly fold and move the sound around. And with that, it's time to record our bass. So the longer you can do this and the more variation you can create, the better your results will be. Be patient and just keep going. As you can see here, I moved parameters during the recording to get even more variation. Now it's time to write some music. The first thing I'm going to do is to layer up a kick alongside my bass so that each new note has a really aggressive attack. Now I'll just cycle through and find my favorite bits. Now it's time to dive into the Breakout WAV folder and get some percussions. Let's grab some one-shots and add some flavor there too. Back to the bass cuts we have earlier, we're going to assemble them together and make some sort of riff. I'm going to reach for some ambiences within the Kontakt library and add some atmosphere. I purposefully left some space in the riff for some higher register stuff. Breakout's bending and signature sounds are perfect for this kind of scenario. I like to set up a loop and just test out a lot of different sounds to see which one fits best. That one fits really well, I think. Yeah, nice, that works too. Let's listen to the whole thing. Just a final idea to leave you with, most of the basses here in the playable section of the Kontakt library were created using a similar technique, but they can be used as input into any point of this chain, and you can get all kinds of different results by just rearranging some of the ideas here. Have a good time experimenting, and thank you so much for watching. I'll see you in the next one.